There are 230 pharmaceutical products on this table. On Polish TV, there's an ad running for every single one, right now, every day, from 9 AM to 9 PM, without a fail. This isn't across all Polish TV, by the way. This is just one channel. Painkiller and cold medicine ads aren't illegal in Poland, but when people face a non-stop barrage of ads pushing them to buy medication, the effects can end up being very nasty, even deadly. If you're watching this video from Poland, I'm willing to bet you had to watch an ad for some kind of medication. Maybe it was a new painkiller, or even something as simple as cold medicine. The bottom line is that a pharmaceutical product has been put before your eyes and will stick in your mind for the rest of your day. But why is this? The Polish advertising sector is absolutely booming right now. Back in 2024, companies spent 17% more on advertising than in 2023. Marketing agencies are seeing a super high growth rate. Even television ads, a media platform a lot of people might think is slowly fading into obscurity, are skyrocketing. This makes sense. Poland itself is a country that's on the rise, economically speaking at least. GDP is rising, spending power is going up, more and more investments are flowing into its borders. Companies want to get their products out there. Nobody is more keen to get the word out than pharmaceutical companies. The industry is thriving, and anyone who's ever set foot in Poland can tell you that very easily. Let's zoom in a bit to this very small town here in southwest of the country, on the outskirts of Wrocław. This is Oszczeszów, with a population of 30,000 people, not exactly a thriving metropolis. If you had to guess, how many pharmacies do you think there would be in this town? For reference, the town of Hylka, across the sea in the UK, is around the same size. Hylka has 2 pharmacies, in a country with fairly old population. If you guess the same amount, or even something more out there, like 6, you're wrong. 12 pharmacies are up and running in a town barely big enough to make a mark on a map. No offense if you're watching from there. Polish towns have 7 or even more pharmacies on average, much higher than in the UK or neighbouring countries. There's about 1 pharmacy for every 2,000 people in the country. Long story short, the Polish love medicine, and pharmaceutical companies have pushed hard to get the message out. So the question is, what's the big deal? It's not bad for a country to have a strong pharmaceutical industry, is it? Well, unfortunately, that's come with a fair few drawbacks, and ads are at the center of this. Polish people love taking medication. In 2020, they spent 37.2 billion zloty on pharmaceutical products. The average Polish person spends a staggering €153 every year on the stuff. Compare that to the rates of €85 per person in Czech Republic, 73 in Germany, and 42 in France. Poland is way out in front. They also love taking supplements. 79% of Polish people take some kind of dietary supplement as part of the diet. It's hard to say if the crazy levels of advertising the industry pushed onto them is what made their consumption skyrocket, or if the companies simply capitalize on the desire that was already there. Personally, I think it's a bit of both. Either way, the country is now in a state where pharmaceutical ads are where the most people get their information, particularly the elderly. Is it any surprise that so many Polish people are hooked on medication? But it goes even deeper than that. This is ketamine. It's an anti-inflammatory painkiller like ibuprofen, and it's strong, really strong. Take this and you won't be feeling that nasty pain anymore, or anything else for that matter. Polish people know this brand very well because there are ads for it running all the time on Polish TV. Like I said, turn on any TV in Poland, wait 10 minutes or so, and you're likely to see an ad for ketamine sooner or later. But wait, if ketamine is so strong, why have adverts for it? Surely, you need a prescription. Not in Poland. You can walk right into any pharmacy, pick it up off the shelf, and the pharmacist will sell it to you, no questions asked. In 2017, the Polish government lifted a lot of regulations surrounding advertising hard medications, coupled with ketamine coming off the prescription list. and a strong painkiller has become a cure-all pretty much overnight. Ketamine is not the only culprit, though. Beyond really strong drugs, you can also pick up plenty of cold medication, like Sudafed. Seems harmless, right? Think again. Everything you need to make strong methamphetamines can be found in this little box. It's a favorite among drug dealers for this very reason. Pseudoephedrine is a critical part of a crystal meth, and it's a super common part of loads of cold medications that are sold over the counter. It's very easy to get every ingredient needed to make crystal meth over the counter in Poland. Just buy some cough syrup. This is the full list of ingredients needed to make crystal meth. You can see pseudoephedrine right there near the top. This list looks long, and the names on it looks scary and complicated. Iodine, then phosphorus, sulfuric acid, the kind of things you see in a chemistry lab. But in reality, these are things you can get out in any Polish pharmacy or supermarket. Need ephedrine? Flu Controls got you covered. Need sulfuric acid? Just get some drain cleaner. And red phosphorus? Well, you can find that in matches. You can get everything on this list without prescription. No questions asked. So, now we have a country with people who spend more on medication than anyone else, where strong medication is freely available all the time at the hundreds of thousands of pharmacies, and where making even stronger drugs is dead easy. It sounds like a perfect breeding ground for a major hard drug problem. And well, that's pretty much what's happening right now. Let's zoom out a bit. On a larger scale, Poland occupies an important place in the EU. It's the most populous country in the former Soviet bloc by the big margin. It has the strongest economy and acts as a kind of crossroads between the Baltics and the West. We like to focus on the Western members of the EU, but in this geopolitical climate, Poland is becoming more and more important by the day. What happens in Poland affects the rest of the EU. That makes it a hotspot for business, and not just the legal kind. Illegal hard drug manufacturing has become a massive industry in Poland, and the effects are spreading all over the continent. Crystal meth is a favorite among the drug users. Meth is super addictive, super powerful, and super dangerous. It causes insane physical and psychological damage. It rots your teeth, turns your brain into a foggy mess, and is pretty much the best way of ruining your life. This is to say nothing of the risk of the overdoses and the spread of infectious diseases. All of these risks are even worse when the product is mashed together by amateurs in a bathtub, rather than the proper way, if there is one. But as I mentioned before, making a synthetic crystal meth, also known as bath salts, is super easy in Poland, since all the ingredients you need are right there to buy at your local pharmacy. Couple this with a fact that you have a population predisposed towards drug use already, and you've got a recipe for a disaster. In 2023, authorities ran a huge campaign to dismantle a number of crystal meth production sites all over the continent. In total, they managed to shut down 53 plants. 40 of them were in Poland. The European Union Drugs Agency reported after the operation that Poland had become a major drug hub on the continent, seeing unprecedented seizures and imports of synthetic catechins, the ingredients needed to make these hard drugs. So, what we end up with is a big geopolitical important country with a population hooked on medication and the foundations for Poland to transform into Europe's bath salts factory. The problem is that nobody has an incentive to break the cycle. The pharmaceutical companies are making record profits, so they are happy. The drug dealers are happy, and the advertisers are happy as well. So, what happens now? One idea is that Polish government had in 2012 was to just outright ban all pharmaceutical ads on TV. 24/7 non-stop commercials are encouraging people to pop hard medication like candy. The logic is that by cutting these ads down, people will go back trusting the doctors first, rather than the pharmaceutical companies, and won't be pushed quite as hard to take such hard drugs. But that ban could soon be lifted. The Court of Justice of the European Union declared back in the summer of 2025 that Poland's anti-pharmacy advertising laws are in the violation of the EU law. They saw Polish law goes against the tenets of the Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union, one of the two constitutions the EU has. Right now, the Polish government is deliberating an amendment to the law. Those in favor of the pharmacy advertising are obviously arguing to have the ban lifted completely, as the EU regulation would suggest. Those against, including a number of Polish doctors, want to carefully define the term advertising to still have some measure of control. For example, they like to see an amendment make sure the pharmacies can't advertise loyalty bonuses for recurring customers or anything that would encourage people to buy medication for anything other than their intended use. This could have a knock-on effect by making people less dependent on medication overall, meaning they are less likely to get into synthetic drugs and the like. Commercials for medication aren't bad in and of themselves, and there's no way anyone involved is going to give up such a lucrative business. Passing any kind of law getting in the way of this money-making operation is going to be tough. But until those involved are giving a reason not to keep making money, they won't see a clear reason why they would stop.